So we know that recent demonstrations are impacting the community and causing disruptions. We are working closely with organizers to ensure voluntary compliance to mitigate the disruption of businesses and the public who are accessing the areas in and around the location of the demonstrations. As police, our role is to facilitate lawful and peaceful and safe demonstrations while minimizing impact to the community. We have a responsibility to protect participants, the community, and the police working to keep everyone safe. We are working with organizers of a planned demonstration this Sunday, December 3rd, 2023. While in large we expect peaceful behavior, we also want to be very clear of our expectations of participants as they exercise their lawful right to demonstrate. Prohibiting the safe movement of motor vehicles on major thoroughways and blocking access routes to necessary services will be addressed by our officers under the applicable law. Those expectations have been and continue to be communicated to demonstrators, organizers, and participants. We are sharing it more broadly to clearly set expectations for everyone involved in advance. With any large gathering in a downtown environment, we expect temporary disruptions in surrounding areas. We ask for patience as police work to resolve these issues. Please watch for live updates on our social media channels for real-time updates. We continue to appeal to all demonstrators to act responsibly and to demonstrate within the laws. We ask all of those attending to remain respectful of differing views, the police instruction, and Calgarians who might be impacted. For those attending planned demonstrations across Calgary, please review your rights and responsibilities. Anybody who jeopardizes public peace and endangers others or participates in illegal activities will be held accountable for their actions. If anyone feels they were not dealt with appropriately by the police, they can file a complaint through our professional standards section. Thank you.
Joe, obviously last weekend we saw a lot of anti-police rhetoric from some of the protesters, especially around 4th Street where the arrests happened the week before that. It seems like there's maybe a little bit of a breakdown that occurred at that time. Has that been healed at all, and is there any communication ongoing with some of the organizers to avoid such a similar situation?
Good question, and I would say that we are working closely with organizers, and they also share a common goal with us of wanting to participate in a lawful, peaceful, and safe demonstration. Not all individuals attending the protest are representative of the larger group, so there have been some smaller groups that aren't acting within what's lawful, and we're addressing those individuals as we deal with the issues that they're involved in. So yes, there was some of that, and that's what I'm here to talk about today. Is we're asking individuals to come down and exercise their lawful right to protest, but do it in a lawful and respectful manner.
Is there any indication that protest organizers are going to lead a slowdown or a shutdown of roads like last weekend?
So we work with protest organizers throughout the week in between events to ensure that we have a shared understanding of how the protest should go, the march routes and things along those lines. And generally everybody's been cooperative, but like I said, there are some individuals that choose not to cooperate, and we'll address those individuals.
Can you speak to maybe how many extra resources are required each weekend to police some of these events?
So I won't get into numbers, but I can tell you that the regularly scheduled resources for Sundays or Saturdays whenever the protests are happening aren't sufficient to deal with it, so we are bringing in extra officers.
This has been happening, the protests and these specific protests have been happening for over a month now. And every weekend we see it escalating and escalating. They seem to be pushing the needle. Where does it stop?
Yeah, and that's a good question. I think, like I said earlier, the role of the police here is to facilitate lawful, peaceful, and safe demonstrations while minimizing impact to the community. And that's exactly what's happening here. Is as the protests go on, and as a result of what's happening in the Middle East, and obviously there's lots to unpack there, and it's troubling for individuals who are living in our city, and what's happening there is impacting us locally. And so as a result, as expected, emotions are getting higher, and we are seeing more and more disruptions. And that's what the message is for today, is like, let's come out and lawfully and safely and peacefully protest while respecting other Calgarians. And I think we're in a position where we can achieve both.
There Smoke bombs used last weekend, which are obviously illegal. What happens to those people if they bring them out again this weekend?
So you're right, there was some smoke devices that were in the crowd. We're assessing those on a case-by-case basis. Overall, our concern so much isn't about the smoke devices, but just the impact that they could have on crowds. If you've seen the crowds, there's elderly people in there, there's young children in there, and there's some medical issues that could arise as a result of those. So we are asking demonstrators to refrain from using those just to keep the crowd safe. The last thing you'd want is a medical issue in a crowd of that size.
When it's so emotional like this, what do you say to the organizers to kind of balance that out so that we don't have these incidents? Is there something that they can say? What do you say?
Good question. So I think it's an ongoing dialogue week to week. I know that our members of our executive team met with members of the community earlier today, and again, we affirmed that we do have a shared goal in these to have lawful, peaceful, and safe demonstrations.
Is there an area of the city just for people who don't want to be in the area? What's the location?
The demonstrations generally happen around Municipal Plaza, but at the same time, the demonstrations, we're trying to work with the organizers so these demonstrations don't impact Calgarians. So we don't want people to have to avoid the area, but we are saying is that there will be some minor disruptions, and we will work with the organizers and within our lawful authorities to clear those interruptions as quickly as we can.
The people that are causing the trouble, most of these people that attend these protests are peaceful and respectful. But is it a small group of troublemakers and it just kind of builds, or how does that happen? What have you noticed?
You're right. The majority of the group is very lawful and peaceful and cooperative. There are individuals in there that choose not to be, and that's not reflective of what we expect from Calgarians or any demonstrators. So we are dealing with those individuals on a one-by-one basis.
What happens to them?
It depends on what the action is, right? Like, again, we don't police beliefs. We police behaviors, and anything that's unlawful will be addressed, as was the case on November 19th.
Given the fact that the protesters are now marching on a regular basis here as part of their protest activity, are police working with them to find safe routes that are known beforehand to work with them to find that way to minimize disruption and still allow them to protest lawfully?
Yes, and that's always the goal. We have police liaison officers that work closely with the community and the organizers. However, sometimes like I mentioned earlier, not everybody that attends these protests is aligned with the organizers, and sometimes they try to take routes that were not agreed upon. So we'll address those as we deal with them, as they come.
Some people would like to see a harder line taken by police when it comes to these people that are interfering with their comings and goings. They have just as much right to use McLeod Trail or whatever route, everybody else. What do you say to those people that think these should be taken a little bit harder?
Yeah, I go back to my original message. As you know, in Canada, we have a democratic right to demonstrate, and that's within there's some legalities around that. And at the same time, individuals should face, that aren't a part of the protest, that are impacted, should face minimum disruptions. And that's what we're working on is, balancing that right to demonstrate and balancing the right for people to be able to enjoy their weekends.
Is there any concerns about police safety at all at these events?
You know what, there is some hostility towards the police in the crowd, and what we ask is for individuals to remember that the police are out there to protect them and their rights and to keep them safe. So nobody wins by engaging in anti-police rhetoric or anything along those lines. These individuals out there, most of them working on their days off just to ensure that Calgarians are safe and demonstrators are safe. So I ask that we be respectful of those women and men that are out there.
This is the first weekend after the ceasefire ended. Are you expecting it to be particularly aggressive?
What happens overseas does generally tend to impact what happens here locally in Canada and in Calgary. So you're right, there was the end to the ceasefire. Again, knowing that, we've worked closely with the organizers to ensure that we still we have a shared vision on this.
Any other questions? Great, thank you guys.
Thank you.